Mario Kart is a series that's been going around for 30 years now, and for every console there has been at least one Mario Kart game, starting with the SNES. While I feel like the SNES game is very dated, most of the other Mario Kart games are really good. Mario Kart 64 is a nostalgic ride, while Double Dash is a chaotic masterpiece. But among all the Mario Kart games, I've always had a mixed feeling on with Mario Kart Super Sticker for the Game Boy Advance. Like, it's a fine enough Mario Kart game for the Game Boy Advance. It's a simple 2D game, kind of like Super Mario Kart, but a bit more refined in the control scheme, but even then, it would not be the first Mario Kart game I would be playing. So I thought, why not, because I really want to talk about Double Dash, but since I've done videos on Super Mario Kart and 64, I decided to do Mario Kart Super Sticker first and then do Double Dash, so that's why we're going to back-to-back with Mario Kart this time. So with the development of Mario Kart Super Circuit, there's really not that much to talk about besides the fact that this game was made by Intelligent Systems, who are the Paper Mario developers. After completion of Mario Kart Super Circuit, everyone played it, said it was great, and then moved on to much more later entries like Double Dash, Wii, and Mario Kart 8. But before we get to Super Circuit, I should mention about the weird commercials that this game has. In Japan, it has this really cool animated commercial where Mario f***ing gets obliterated and then decides to vaporize literally everyone in the track. And for the US version, I actually need to show you the whole thing because
trouble began when they decided I was executive member. Get out of that, get out of
that. What? But anyway, the most surprising part of Mario Kart Super Circuit is that it is actually the highest rated Mario Kart game of all time, even higher than Mario Kart 8 itself. As with Mario Kart Super Circuit, it has a 93 on Metacritic, which is 1 point higher than 8. Yeah, just 1 point. But of course, it was still a product of its time, so looking back retroactively, it's a bit lesser than what it was back when it was released. But luckily, with the user score with Metacritic, we have a better idea on what people think about the game these days, because the Metacritic user score is never wrong for us. Except for the time when Astro Chain got review bombed because it was a Switch exclusive, the time that Dunkley encourages fans to review bomb Sonic Frontiers, and then the time when the first party Nintendo games this year got review bombed because for, I don't know. There was also the time when... But with everything out of the way, let's get started. So when you start the game, you get this cute little intro that shows the title screen. It's really nothing that remarkable, but it's pretty cute. But anyway, so once we start the game and we get to the character select screen, this is the exact same roster we had in Mario Kart 64. Mostly because, with this game, they were mostly using assets from Mario Kart 64, so they were pretty much using their N64 renders. Which makes this the final time that we ever see Mario characters in their N64 designs. Because after this game, the GameCube released, where they have much more refined designs for all the characters. But anyway, so I jump into the game, go to Mushroom Cup, and then we start with Peach Circuit. This is a really nice and simple first track for the game. It shows you the controls of this game, and it works pretty well. Shy Guy Beach. This is a simple beach level. There's really not that much to talk about. There's Riverside Park. There's a really cool jungle theme, but there's really not that much to talk about with this one. Yeah, a lot of these tracks aren't really that remarkable because they mostly blend in because of the 2D aspect of this game. Although not to say that all of them are forgettable, because there's a handful of these tracks I really do like. Sky Garden is the main highlight with this one. I really love this, with the colors and everything, especially with that soundtrack. Cheeseland is a really good one. I'm not usually a big fan of desert theme levels, but for this one it really has an interesting theme, which is that you're literally on a planet made out of cheese. Ribbon Road is another fun one. It's very colorful and very lively, and shout out to the Mario Kart 8 version of these two tracks for having great reimaginings. If there's only one track I truly did not like, it was probably the Snowland, which is honestly a big shame because I always love snow-themed worlds. And the problem is not like the level design itself, because it's pretty solid, but The issue is like there's this weird effect for certain areas where you drive over these bumpy areas and it shakes the entire screen. On a small Game Boy Advance, it's probably not that bad, but when you blow it up on a Nintendo Switch or something, it is very disorientating at times. But overall, there's a really good amount of tracks in this game, and they're pretty solid throughout. They're just not that memorable, with the occasional gems. If only had one issue with the track choices, there's about 4 Bowser Castle levels in this game, which is already the highest amount of original Bowser Castles we've ever gotten in a Mario Kart game. Intelligent Systems really love Bowser. But we're not done there, because we also have the extra tracks, because this game is technically the first time we ever gotten the retro tracks. Which is something that was titled in Mario Kart DS, but it debuted in this game where every single Super Nintendo track is in this game. Which includes the 3 Bowser Castles, meaning that Mario Kart Super Circuit has 7 Bowser Castles. This is the highest amount of Bowser Castle levels we've ever gotten in a Mario Kart game, period, and it'll probably be that way, especially if Mario Kart 8, which only has 1. But I'm having a bit of a tangent, but yeah, there's about 40 tracks in this game, with 20 of them being retro tracks. However, unlocking the retro tracks is very different from other games in the series, because with other games, all you have to do is win and beat the race. But with Mario Kart Super Circuit, in order to get retro tracks, you're going to need to beat all the tracks in every single cup in this game, plus redoing them all but get 100 coins. It doesn't matter if you got 100 coins on your first try, you are still forced to replay them to get 100 coins. Which is honestly I'm not really a big fan of, because this just feels like padding. But anyway, I feel like I talk enough about the tracks in this game, so let's talk about the gameplay. So on paper, this seems like a exact replica of Super Mario Kart on the SNES. On paper, it's pretty much the same, but it's a lot more refined, meaning that it's a lot more fun to control in this game compared to the original Super Mario Kart. Drifting is still a bit off in this game, but it's still expected because drifting didn't get that satisfaction until Double Dash. You'll also notice that in my gameplay, there's a lot of Mario and Luigi gameplay. While I've tried several of the characters, and they always feel a bit off. The turning of some of these characters can be a bit too low, and some of them a bit too slippery, like Yoshi, for example. But overall, I feel like the gameplay in Super Circuit is really fun. It's not going to be the best Mario Kart game, but for what it is, for the GBA, it's really enjoyable. And that's not even talking about the graphics in this game, because for a GBA title, this game looks really good. There's just something very lively and bouncy about this game that's very charming. And also, I have to give a good shout out to Rainbow Road in this game for being one of the most unique ones in the series. For one, it has a cool little Paper Mario reference in the background, and two, this has the most unique gimmick in Rainbow Road history, where all these edges and stuff are these little ramps that you can jump off of, which will give you really cool shortcuts like this. And that's not even talking about the extra content you can have in this game, like time trial mode. It's time trial mode, what do you expect? And of course, I have to mention the trademark battle mode in this game. So just like Mario Kart 64, the battle mode is locked behind 2-player mode, and since this is a GBA, I could not really record it, until I realized I could use the Nintendo Switch Online service, which recently this year added Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games, so it's really cool to play these games on the go. Oh wait, you can already play these games on the go. But that doesn't matter. The real thing is that I can finally play multiplayer Game Boy Advance games for the first time with friends. And I know that you can do that with various emulations and stuff, but this is a lot more easier even if the execution is pretty Nintendo Switch Online. But yeah, so here is battle mode in this game. It's pretty much like the N64 and SNES title. There's really not that much I can talk about with battle mode in this one. It's really cool that I actually can play something like this for once and not rely on video game footage you see on YouTube, but it's fine. So yeah, that was Mario Kart Super Circuit, and overall, it's pretty solid. It's still the weakest Mario Kart game post-SNES title, but still, I really enjoy this game. And I know sometimes like the weakest title always gets the bad rap, but keep in mind, I said the weakest, not the worst. Because even though that these two words have similar meanings, the implications for these two words are very different. With weakest, it's pretty much mean this is still a good time, but not as good as later things, while worse just implies that this game is bad. And Mario Kart Super Circuit is far from being a bad game. Hell, even though that this is still a 2D kart racer, I still think this aged better compared to Super Mario Kart. It looks pretty good, it sounds pretty good, it's very charming aesthetically, and yeah, it's a really good time. Especially with the tracks that are very original that eventually lived on with reimaginings with Mario Kart 8 and such. So yeah, if you have the Nintendo Switch Online, because that's pretty much the only way you can do it easily these days, I recommend trying out Mario Kart Super Circuit. And as for me, if I'm ever replaying this game, I'll be playing it on my original Game Boy Advance SP. You know, when I was recording footage for direct gameplay of this on my Game Boy Advance SP, this whole game just clicked to me. It was just like, I get it now. There's just this little fun factor of just playing it authentically on original hardware, especially with the controllers where it can be very unique compared to a modern one. But for the next Mario Kart game, we're going to be going straight to Double Dash, baby. I cannot wait. But that'll do for today, so thank you for watching and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.